Hello everyone, Supersonic Corey here, and welcome back to my Star Wars Marathon. So today I am looking at the fourth Star Wars movie in the series, Episode 1. You get it there? I just made this movie sound ironic. Oh, never mind. Now, approaching this movie is kind of intimidating in a way, considering this has actually got a rather interesting fan base. It seems like you either hate or love the Phantom Menace, because I've noticed that there are some fans of the prequels out there. I've encountered someone who actually really likes the prequels, and they said they liked the politics, and they actually hated the pod race, but a lot of other aspects, and they thought the CGI in the movie were really well balanced and all this stuff, and they did respect the prequels. And just so you know, I'm not here to bash the Phantom Menace, I'm just going to give you my opinions of the movie, and I will say what I both did and didn't like about the movie. But I'm going to be straight with you, I do not like the Phantom Menace. In fact, the Phantom Menace is quite possibly the only Star Wars film I really hate, to be quite honest. But why? Well, let's look at the story. Okay, so what's Star Wars The Phantom Menace about? I think it's sort of about the Emperor, or a little empire trying to invade a planet Naboo, I believe it is. And I think Qui-Gon Jinn, like a Jedi Knight that we've never met before named Qui-Gon Jinn, who mainly gets the spotlight for the movie for some reason, and another Jedi Knight named Obi-Wan Kenobi, sort of have to stop it, and instead of like a physical conflict like we got from the original trilogy, it's sort of more like a politics Senate meeting sort of battle, and only every now and then we get a lightsaber battle. That actually was my best way to describe the movie to you guys. Now, in every single one of my reviews, I try to give at least somewhat of a summary as to what the film is about. I almost can't do that here because the story is just so sloppy and all over the place. If someone actually walked up to me and asked me what was the Phantom Menace about and tried to describe the story to them, like summarize it overall, I actually would react with that type of reaction. I would be stuttering, trying to think up what to say. And also, one reason I really hate this film is, keep in mind that this movie was made for kids. And I grew up with this film. This is possibly the only Star Wars movie I actually grew up with. I was trying to watch this movie as a kid. And only now, when I actually decide to watch this movie all the way through for the sake of this review, is the only time I was actually able to watch it the entire way through. Every single time as a little kid, I would try to sit down and watch the movie from beginning to end, and I would be lucky if I could get past the first 20 minutes. And I thought, oh my goodness, this movie's so boring. There's 6 of these movies? Seriously? Because as I explained in my New Hope review, this is a prequel. This movie was released after Episode 6. I did not know that the Episode 4, 5, and 6 was the original trilogy and the good films, and they could have just gone straight to Episode 4, 5, and 6. I thought I had to sit through the prequels first, and I could not sit through the Phantom Menace all the way through, which meant I couldn't watch Episode 2 or Episode 3, which meant I would barely ever get to touch the original trilogy. I only saw A New Hope like once or something, and I just thought, I really couldn't grow up with the original trilogy because of this movie. And that's really the thing I hate about this movie. It actually affected my relationship with Star Wars. And here's why, because think about it, this movie was made for kids. This movie was like made for 11 and 6-year-olds, and it was supposed to also sort of appeal to adults who like the original trilogy. And yet, most of this movie are Senate meetings, politics, and debates on the Senate and the Council, and lots of dialogue scenes of people just sitting or standing or walking around in rooms and talking. Lots and lots of talking. Now that I'm older and more mature, I can actually sit through dialogue scenes that I used to think were boring. Like if I would watch a movie as a little kid and think the dialogue scenes are boring, I could go back, rewatch those movies, and I actually would understand it and be able to get invested as to what is going on. However, I cannot do that even in this movie because the acting in this movie is so monotone. Almost every single character in this movie is like, "My name is Qui-Gon Jinn. What's happening? I've noticed a disturbance in the Force. One that gives you the ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now go away. I'm acting right now." Seriously, the acting in this movie is so monotone, you get just about the same amount of emotion as listening to something from Google Translate. And also, the characters are really poorly written. They are so one-dimensional, and they're really only there just for the sake of driving the plot forward. I don't know Qui-Gon's personality, I don't know Obi-Wan's personality, I don't know Anakin's personality, I don't even know Darth Maul's personality. Yeah, people have actually been going on how Darth Maul's the only really good character from the movie. Like, this man is awesome! He was good. I didn't think he was really that awesome, but yeah, he was a pretty cool villain. And people are absolutely ticked off that he ends up dying at the end of this movie. And, well, I can actually kind of see where they're coming from, but it's really just because of the fact that Obi-Wan needs a motivator. Darth Maul could have been the Darth Vader for the prequels. That actually would have been really cool. The Emperor could have been in this movie, but he could have been twisting with Anakin's mind sort of in the background, and Darth Maul could be the Darth Vader of this trilogy, as in being the big villain that Anakin and Obi-Wan have to take down. That actually would be really, really cool, and having that sort of conflict, and actually having Darth Maul kill Qui-Gon Jinn at the end of this movie, it would actually give Obi-Wan an emotional conflict, because he'd be worried about, should I kill Darth Maul, or should I try and keep my justice so I remain a Jedi? And plus, while all this is going on, the Emperor could be messing with Anakin's mind in the background while Anakin tries to help Obi-Wan sort of deal with Darth Maul. That is actually how I think the entire trilogy should have been gone. That would have made an awesome prequel trilogy. That is how I think this trilogy could have been really good. But nope, instead, bleh. Darth Maul ends up dying, and so we sort of have this boring politics sort of stuff, and really, that's the best way to describe this movie. Boring! I don't care about the characters, the acting is so monotone, and when you're listening to something like this the entire time, and the script is so terrible, and you don't care about the story, and you just have to listen to this for 2 hours, you just get so bored, you just want to turn the movie off. That is really my biggest problem with The Phantom Menace. It's boring. It's hard to sit through. When I was watching this movie, I wanted to turn it off. Even now, when I'm older and more mature, I still was at my computer watching it thinking, "Oh, this is so boring, I really want to turn it off, but I can't because I have to make a video about this." I love movies, and it's extremely rare for a movie to be this hard for me to sit through. This is why I actually really like the pod race and the Darth Maul lightsaber fight. Now, say what you want about either of those. Yes, both of them are very, very heavy on CGI. There's all these big blue green screen backgrounds and no environments, and the lightsaber fight is extremely choreographed. Yes, the lightsabers are moving left to right, up and down, in pretty much every direction, and it looks extremely rehearsed, it's moving fast paced. But I actually really enjoy this lightsaber fight, because, think about it, because when you go to a Star Wars movie, would you rather watch something like the Darth Maul lightsaber fight, or a Senate meeting with really boring personality talking? I would very much rather watch this. It looks rehearsed, but it's fun, it's cool, it's epic, it's just entertaining to watch, and it's just cool to watch this to finally see something happen that's not boring dialogue. And if Darth Maul was more fleshed out and he was in the rest of the trilogy, he would have made a much better villain. And the pod race. This is the only scene I ever liked as a kid. And honestly, I never made it this far into the movie. When I said I could never sit through this movie, I often never got that far into the Naboo scene. That's really as far as I could get in this movie. However, on the back of the DVD case, I saw like a little image of the pod race, and I thought, hey, that scene actually looks pretty cool. So I did the research on like the scene selection area in the inside the DVD case, and I went straight to that scene. I watched the pod race and went, hey, that was pretty cool. I wish the rest of the movie was that interesting. And then once the pod race ended, I turned the movie off. I'm serious. I actually did that. Another complaint about this movie is the common use of CGI, and I agree, there is way too much of it here. Now, those people that just go into the movies thinking, oh, but it's just effects, they're just different techniques of getting the movies to look the way they want it to look. Is there really that much of a difference between practical and CG? And the answer is, yes, there is. A lot of difference. The first thing is that usually when you get a practical effect, what you're seeing on the screen actually will always be there on the screen. If you use a proper thing and then you capture it with the camera, it will look like it's actually there. Now, yeah, some movies may have effects where you think, oh yeah, that's a machine, it's not a proper living thing, it looks like an animatronic. But at least it's actually there, and people went through effort to get this machine to look the way it does and to get it to operate the way it does. That stuff must be really technical and really hard to fuss with, and that must be really difficult stuff. Yeah, I think the stop motion effect at the end of the original Terminator looks really fake, but people did go through a lot of effort. Getting that thing to look the way it looks and get it to move in all the right ways must have been extremely hard for them. Yeah, it looks fake, but there's a lot of effort and it looks like it's actually there. It just looks like it was done by stop motion. However, if you just do everything with the computer, then your computer effect is going to be limited to the abilities of your computer at the time. And it's because of these limitations where as the movie gets older and older and older, the effects can become very, very dated. But personally, the technical problems with this movie, I really kind of like to sort of gloss over, ignore, because I rather would like to look at the problems with the story and characters, because that's when the movie suffers the most. Because the script is so poorly written, it causes the actors to have trouble to take the lines in the script seriously, which means they won't be able to give a good performance and they just sort of have a monotone voice because of the bad CGI and the bad script. They can't put out their best because it's just really hard to get around. And since the script is poor, the acting is poor because of the bad script, it causes us to lose the ability to care about the story, and so the movie just becomes boring. So in my opinion, the really bad problem is that all the little problems with the movie are connected. The script, the story, the effects, and all this stuff are all connected, creating a very underwhelming film. If you like this movie, great! I wish I could enjoy this movie, because the pod race scene's pretty cool. I like the Darth Maul Lightsaber fight scene. John Williams' score's pretty good, but if you want to watch a good Star Wars movie that has John Williams' score in it, just go watch any of the other 3 original trilogy movies, because they have the same score and they're just as good. Okay, Duel of Fates is a great song, I will be honest. And the way the sound effects are done, they're great sound effects. The lightsaber sounds, the sound mixing, the way the sound, well, sounds, I would say that the movie sounds great. It's got a good soundtrack and the sound effects are really well done. I just wish we got better story, better characters, and better effects. Because if you just improve all 3 of those things, we would probably have a significantly better film. Because having all those increased would allow for a better movie. And another problem is that the movie's called Star Wars. And yet there's very little war in this movie. In fact, one of the characters say they are trying to prevent war. And so that causes the movie to have very minimum action in a Star Wars movie. Ugh. As a whole, while there are elements of the movie I like the score, the sound, the 2 scenes, the pod race scene and Darth Maul scene, but really apart from that, I really can't enjoy this movie because the movie's so boring and it's so agonizing to sit through. Where I'm thinking, this is so boring, I want to turn it off. It doesn't really encourage me from going back and watching it again. And I really can't see myself going to watch this movie again, only probably once just to check out how it looks on my Blu-ray. But apart from that, that's really it. And it's because of the fact I really don't enjoy this movie, and the other scenes, like the pod race scene and all this other stuff, the little good stuff, I can just go and check out those individual scenes on YouTube, and it will save me from watching 2 hours just to watch those 2 scenes. So really I'm gonna have to give it my lowest grade, and that is an F, because I really can't enjoy this movie. I'm Supersonic Corey, signing off, and I'll see you in my review for Attack the Clones. Stay tuned to see if the prequels get any better for me.